Hello friends, today we have a question about mistakes during aluminum window installation. I'll tell you about the installation tech and consequently the common mistakes that are often made. Start with securing the window itself in the opening. There are two mounting alternatives, utilizing mounting plates or directly nailing through the aluminum frame itself for installation. So, in case we are discussing mounting plates, then the mounting plate is fastened to the inner cup of the profile and nailed to the opening in accordance with the requirements. So, one important point and the first mistake made by installers is that they attach these mounting plates with regular galvanized screws, which is unacceptable because when in contact with black metal, even the galvanized layer wears off, causing a thermal bridge. Acid is released and over time all of these screws will deteriorate and the window may even fall out, in simple terms. This is a crucial issue that needs to be addressed to ensure proper installation and long-term stability of the window. Therefore, under no circumstances should galvanized fasteners be screwed into aluminum, only stainless steel. So the first thing is that this mounting plate is screwed in here with galvanized screws. The second mistake, you can't screw into the thermal bridge. Often people screw a plate into the thermal bridge. There is no point in doing this because the thermal bridge is made of plastic and has no load-bearing capacity. This is the second error. The third mistake. Occasionally, they manufacture a plate similar to this and attach screws in this location and screws in this location. There is no logic in the way installers place the inner and outer profiles. Of course, they may not understand this, but in general, the outer profile is cold and the inner one is warm with a thermal bridge between them. If you install a mounting plate like this and attach it here, it creates a cold bridge immediately. In other words, cold passes through the mounting plate and this should never be done under any circumstances. Therefore, the installation of aluminum windows only occurs in the inner frame, which is located in the warmth. The next point. If we are not talking about a mounting plate, but about mounting with a screw all the way through, like a nail through concrete, a screw, as it is also called. Accordingly, this happens in the hardware groove and goes all the way through like that. In my personal opinion, the correct and recommended way would be to drill a hole in this profile wall and screw into the far wall of the profile so that the screw head remains inside here, allowing it to be securely and firmly screwed into the concrete. As for this hole in this wall where the head needs to pass through, simply insert a plug into the opening to ensure proper and secure installation. This is the most optimal choice. We even make an effort to carefully select the screws that are used to screw in the window frame. The openings, everyone kind of neglects that. They're also galvanized everywhere, but it's better not to get those yellow Chinese ones. They're cheap. So there we were in the process of selecting and we found some good options among the Sarmatian ones where the coating is galvanized and very thick. This means that in principle you can screw it in and avoid the presence of a thermal bridge and acid between the aluminum and steel materials. So we have ensured the window is secured in the opening. The next point to consider is the presence of a mounting joint between the opening and the window. The container is filled with mounting foam. The mounting foam used should be of good quality, it should have elasticity and be able to expand to fill gaps effectively. There are super elastic foams available there. For example, we use them in wooden house construction. Your dwelling is settling, being wooden, shrinkage and other issues have arisen with openings lacking cladding at the top. So, accordingly, we use this elastic pin. For example, it's called Sudol Flexifoam, the blue one. It is very soft and elastic. Accordingly, it absorbs and does not break down all deformations of both the aluminum due to temperature expansion and the deformations of the wooden house, and does not let anything draft through. And the joint remains sealed, warm, and consequently serves for a long time. The next point is that if we have a quarter installation, meaning there is a stone projection on the outside and the window is inserted into this so-called quarter, then according to the state standard and in general, everyone does it this way, a material like this is glued between the quarter and the window to ensure proper sealing and insulation. This is referred to as a pesul. The pesul is attached in the manner depicted, and in accordance with this, it is affixed onto the window pesul, and then it is completely inserted into the opening. The PSO prevents water from getting in here, and this is a sealing tape. This is a sealing tape. This is a sealing tape seal. The sealant is enough. The quality of PSUL is highly significant because we utilize PSUL, for instance, and all tapes are presently applied by the Sodal company. They're pricey materials, but when it comes to installation in general, we try not to skimp. After all, An aluminum window is expensive and should be of high quality. Therefore, Permeable must be of high quality. Why can't inexpensive be used? There was an experience of using inexpensive. The sun affects it, and firstly, it turns black, it becomes yellow and loose. And then it all starts falling apart. Well, changes occur to it under the influence of ultraviolet light, and if it's really cheap material, it won't last long, and then there will just be holes, it will all collapse, and you'll have to patch it up with some sealant. Generally, it's better not to save on Permeable and installation materials. However, if we have a small opening and there is an installation seam left after foaming, the foam must be covered to ensure proper insulation and prevent any potential issues. The foam should not be exposed to sunlight. Everything here should be covered. Not only from sunlight, but also from precipitation, of course, from water impact and so on. Two options exist. There's a tape called hydrovapor permeable that's available in this situation. And here it is important to understand the meaning of these words. Hydra means protection from water, and vapor permeable means that vapor passes through it. Why is this needed? So when we stick it on the window and the opening from the outside, it's black like this. The water that pours on it doesn't allow the installation seam to get wet, so it repels water. However, there is still some capillary moisture present in the installation seam. So here the dew point passes, temperature differences, and there, accordingly, a small amount of moisture still forms, and it is released in the form of vapor, and it needs to be removed from the installation seam. So this tape, it needs to be vapor permeable, because steam is able to come out through it from the inside. Water is unable to enter, but vapor is emitted. Additionally, the seam of the installation appears to have a breathing effect. If non-vapor permeable tapes are utilized, in simple terms, one can take a piece of polyethylene and adhere it to the entire area. We shielded ourselves from water, yet the seam lacks breathability. We didn't render it vapor permeable. If we are discussing the lower junction, for instance, if it's on the parapet, you can attach the same tape there, and then there is a drip edge available for installation. So, basically, we achieved both hydro and vapor permeability. But when we have windows going all the way down to the floor, it's very difficult to perform waterproofing at the bottom when they are directly on concrete. We tried a lot of materials, technonicole, various bituminous tapes, but they are not vapor permeable. So you heat them with a torch there, they seem to adhere well, but they don't release moisture, and then over time they come off, water starts getting in. The only cool solution that we comprehended actually functions. It is costly, but it functions. And if it's a window in the floor, we only use it. It's liquid waterproofing called Framex. We will show the picture at this moment. What is the significance over there? There exists a window on the surface. You apply the initial layer, then you adhere a unique film and the subsequent layer. Well, in accordance with that, you obtain this safeguard from water. And simultaneously, this waterproofing releases this vapor, thereby carrying out the primary function of the outer layer. If we are talking about a case where tapes are not very convenient to use, there are special sealants, for example, stiz A and stiz B. Stiz A is external, it's hydrovapor permeable. Stiz B is internal, it's vapor insulating. These are slightly different. Accordingly, this installation seam can be sealed with this sealant, and it will divert moisture while releasing vapor, as claimed by the manufacturers. But this sealant, if applied from below, where not to apply liquid waterproofing but to apply the sealant, unfortunately, it does not hold up in intense water and so on in the structures. That he cannot handle it, he still gets all wet. So I would do the tightening only from the side, from the top, and from the bottom I would do. You can use a membrane if it's high above the ground, but if it's at ground level, then it's better to use liquid waterproofing. And finally, these are vapor barrier tapes. This is what they look like. They are specifically called vapor barrier. So it isolates the installation joint from the effects of steam. It will be firmly stuck inside the room on the frame and also on the opening area. Inside, moisture, some steam, humidity inside the room form. And it constantly tries to get into the installation joint, but this cannot be done because if it happens, if there is no vapor barrier, moisture accumulates here and mold will appear on the slopes. You can find many videos on the internet. When mold forms on the slopes there, something freezes, leaks, and so on. That is why vapor barrier is extremely important. And it has to be of good quality. There's this Saudal, yes, we use it, but it's quite expensive. There is a full butyl vapor barrier when it is all covered with such a butyl layer. Of course, there are even cheaper options when there are only 2 adhesive layers, but here is such a cloth. But this, of course, is extremely rare stuff. It is simply not worth the effort. Why? Because without installation, mold will develop on the slopes, as I have already stated. And what mistake do installers frequently make? They do not glue it properly, and either it hangs loosely or it falls off completely. Consequently, they fail to approach this matter with the requisite level of demand and responsibility. And that is the reason why when it is all loose, like a rag, when the finishers come to do the slopes, are they truly that bad? She's not needed. Everyone tears her off. No one understands what kind of rag is hanging there. They tore it off, made a slope, that's it. And as a result, we have mold later. That's why vapor barrier is crucial. If you install windows yourself, supervise this process. It must be properly sealed. It should not come off from the top or the side. It should hold well. There should be no gaps where steam can pass through. If it does not adhere to the opening, that is acceptable. Numerous installers are lazy to utilize primers. He couldn't glue it on. The opening needs to be dusted off. It needs to be primed. Primer is a special black material. It comes either in the form of a spray or is applied with a brush or roller. So we treat the opening and it becomes more adhesive, so to speak. So the tape adheres really well to it, and it is crucial to treat it with a primer for optimal results. We always attempt to treat virtually all openings with a primer. Therefore, this is the primary mistake of installers, that they have a poor adherence to this vapor barrier tape. Well, if we talk about mistakes, then these tapes, all the ones I mentioned and their technology, you just need to make sure that the installers do everything qualitatively so that the tape is well glued both inside and outside, so that this seam is properly sealed with nothing sticking out anywhere. To ensure proper penetration inside the installation joint, as there may be areas that are inadequately foamed with voids, sinkholes, etc. And another crucial point which installers also tend to overlook. The mounting foam must be given the opportunity to expand as though to absorb this moisture. You are unable to waterproof it right away and seal this joint immediately as if to close it completely. Here he has waterproofing. Here he applied vapor barrier, that's it. The foam, it hasn't set yet, it expands, absorbing moisture from the atmosphere. Ideally, thoroughly wet the installation joint, simply spray it and then foam it. So the moisture you sprayed will enable the foam to expand properly. If you do not do it this way, at least you should wait until it dries properly. Perhaps if it has popped out somewhere, trim it neatly and then apply this vapor barrier tape. And ensure to affix it properly in order to prevent it from protruding, so that it is not feasible to approach it with an incline, and attempt to align it with the aperture at a 90-degree angle for convenience and optimal adhesion. So, those are the main points. I most likely overwhelmed you a bit, but it is crucially important. Installation is actually very significant. It is essential to control the quality of it. In our company, we have developed a special album of junction solutions to ensure the quality of installation. We use standard installation materials that we purchase exclusively for this purpose. We have instructions for installers on how to mount the equipment, installation rules and guidelines. And most importantly, we have an internal technical supervision, we call it an installation inspector, who goes to the sites, accepts the work of installers, and controls the quality of all these works. Therefore, you can have confidence in us for the installation. In general, kindly give us likes and subscribe to the channel for more content. You know where to find me. My contacts are in the description. We are waiting for your window inquiries, ready to do everything with quality and speed. That's all. Goodbye, everyone.